You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
All right, let's get back to some boring subjects.
Understand the risk to our country.
Freedom brings people together. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to We Are Libertarians. My name is Chris Spangle. Thank you so much for joining me. We are here live in the Doolittle Studios, getting set up. We are going to talk about the Chinese balloon that is floating somewhere over, I think, Virginia or South Carolina right now. And then we're going to talk about ChatGPT. Is it going to destroy education? Will it destroy democracy? Will it destroy everything else? Are we headed for a Terminator future? Well, the news is really concerned, so we're going to ask if you should be concerned. So we've got our panel of nerds here that know technology, and they're going to give you an answer. So for that, stay tuned. We will be right back after this break.
Warning, this show is for adults, produced by semi-adults. So the language is sometimes strong and offensive.
I don't know what I said.
Welcome to We Are Libertarians, where our goal is to help you sound smarter while talking to your friends. We examine current events from a libertarian perspective while treating modern politics with all of the irreverence it deserves.
There has been lie after lie.
We toss out the screaming heads, put people before political parties, and give context to the news to make you think. Now, here's our host, a 15-year veteran of politics and media, Chris Spangle.
Welcome back to We Are Libertarians here on the Chris Spangle Show. Thank you so much for joining me. We are so glad that you are back here with us today. And we are in the Doolittle Studios, and we've got a cast of characters joining us. First and foremost is Harry Price. Harry, how are you?
Doing good. A little running late start today.
That was my fault. That's just who I am as a person. I apologize. Please take this as a blanket apology. Even though I'm going to be 15 minutes early, I said I would be here 15 minutes early. I was still 15 minutes late.
We got two phones. Anyone else with
Group chat. I sent it to the group chat.
I was always supposed to be here at 55.
It was on Messenger, so
Right.
Of course he didn't.
He didn't notice it.
It wasn't the Slack or
okay.
to Mastodon
All right.
sub-channel or
That voice,
or anything.
semaphore.
the 8,700 different ways that I have to text with Harry because he won't use Facebook Messenger. Does anybody else have a friend like that? Well, email me on Proton. I had somebody emailed me and said, I want to use you to edit video and produce podcasts for me. Or it was actually the lady's son, and he does a Bitcoin podcast. It looked really good, really well done. She said, oh, he doesn't use email. You're going to have to DM him on Signal. And I just didn't do it because I just can tell it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. I'm not going to do it. If you can't email me, sorry. It's just how it is. You nerds take it too far. That's what I'm saying, Harry.
Email's fine. Email's the backbone of the internet. It's a nice, amazing protocol. I don't know why this person doesn't use email. That seems weird. I'd rather use email than Signal.
Yeah.
That's a proven encryption. Emails are sent unencrypted, open wire. You can use Wireshark and just read emails unless you encrypt them. So
With an open relay, you can pretend to be whoever you want to be.
yeah.
Yep. And then also here, that's the voice you hear is Reinhold. Say hello, Reinhold.
Hello, good morning, and glad everybody could be here when we're actually really live.
Yes, it's so good to be live on YouTube and Facebook and return on Saturday mornings.
And Twitch.
The thing that I've opened for the first time in 6 months to watch AI Seinfeld, which we'll talk about. Also, here's Vincent from Low Key Wall. Vincent, how are you today?
Doing pretty good. I was invited because I'm really interested in the AI stuff because that's just kind of who I am. So you'll see when I'm actually invested in a conversation how much more I talk about it.
Well, we'll see if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And then also here is James Neese. For those of you maybe seeing James on the camera for the first time, don't be scared. He does not smell as bad as he looks.
Yes, I do, because I didn't shower because you told me to get here early. So,
all right.
Some of us was here before Harry got here.
Yeah.
So,
Some people showed up on time.
I'm not.
the last time I was here, I was told I was late in holding everything up, so I showed up extra early.
You were 45 minutes
Yeah, you were
late.
almost an hour late.
I was on
I was told a
time.
different time.
I was just I was 15 minutes late to the early time that I set, so therefore I was actually on time.
He changes times
I don't know.
Apparently.
randomly. Okay, all right. That's why I don't like I prefer when show prep was paper. It was easier because you could just change it live like you can with when it's a digital copy. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's Reinhold. You have a bit of a nose. I can hear your nose, so just lean back, or if that's the kind you can turn off, we'll see. But I've got we've got one processor that works. I don't know what happened sitting in my basement for a year and a half, but we've got 5 processors, 2 work. I, of course, get one. And then we've got one on Vincent over there, and it makes him sound very good. Harry doesn't need one. When I put it on Harry, it made him sound worse. You're the first person I've ever met where a processor made you sound bad.
I don't know. I assume it's just my voice. It's so nice, even though I'm not on camera right now. But my voice sounds amazing. All right, so I just give it up to that.
He only does analog, it's like everything needs like tape recorded, like old timey radio, get like the reverb going. That's all he needs.
I probably would sound amazing on an AM signal.
Okay, so Reinhold, before the show, you pretended not to know what this Chinese spy balloon was. Do you really not know what's going on?
I've been heads down at work the last 2 days, so I haven't paid attention to the crazy news cycle that whatever stupid thing comes up, it doesn't last for more than a day or two. But it sounds to me like somebody saw something in the sky and everybody's freaking out about it.
So basically, why did I just get really loud? Sorry. So basically, there is a Chinese spy balloon that is hovering over. It was started in Montana, and I think it's somewhere south, more towards North Carolina at this point.
So my question is, as somebody who doesn't know anything about this, how do we know it's a Chinese spy balloon and not just a regular old weather balloon?
Okay. So here's the timeline of the balloon, because my question was, how did it get here? Did it float over the Pacific to get here, or did some Chinese spy release it in Montana? And the Biden administration said last night, late on a Friday night in their news dump, that they knew about this spy balloon floating towards America. They let it come into America and float over the country, and they weren't going to announce that this was happening because this apparently happens all the time. And there's been like half a dozen under the Trump administration, for instance, that took place. And these spy balloons are very common across the world from different governments. And we send our spy balloons and they don't mess with theirs. And so part of the thinking as to why they don't shoot it down, which is a whole thing we'll get into, but because it's apparently a lot harder than just like popping a balloon. Because people think of this as a balloon, like you pop it like a helium balloon, but this thing is the size of like 3 school buses. It's got the volume of 190 Goodyear blimps, and it's very big.
Yes.
And so if you shoot it with a missile, it's the same principle as walking out and firing your gun in the air, Harry. Should you, on New Year's Eve, fire your gun into the air?
No, simple fixes to tell us. I think the best opinion that we need about this balloon comes from Vincent. Vincent.
My opinion on the balloon is who cares? Because Tencent owns more things connected to people's computers right now, which is connected to the Chinese government, than that balloon could get information.
All right,
for.
we'll get there. Hold on, everybody. Slow down.
If you've got the Epic launcher on your computer right now, it's taking everything from it. If you've got TikTok installed onto your phone, this program is copying everything from your phone and sending it to the Chinese government, including your clipboard. So if you think you're slick and copy pasting your passwords out of your password manager, guess what? Tencent has that information because it copies your clipboard, even on iOS.
All right, hold on. Well, everybody slow down, okay? We're not done explaining what's going on with this balloon situation before we start ranting about it. We need everybody to understand what's going on, okay? So, I don't know why the sound is terrible. I hope it sounds better on your end. I'm so sorry we're still working everything out if it sounds a little bit odd. But, so the... it apparently floated over the Pacific, and we didn't shoot it down then. And now once it gets over the United States, even in Montana, where there's nothing in Montana and Kansas, they didn't want to shoot it down because if you shoot a gun into the air, the bullet goes somewhere. if you shoot a missile into this thing, it doesn't necessarily pop it. So this is a Forbes article. Actually, let me start with the Washington Post article.
Well, just
and some history.
Before that, I did see that a sheriff's department put out a notice saying, please don't go out with your guns and try to shoot at this.
Evansville said that too. So it is apparently a long-standing tradition for aerial surveillance to be allowed amongst different countries. Dwight D. Eisenhower first proposed an open skies agreement in Geneva in 1955. And, people tend to allow other nations to surveil what's going on over there. Now, we have satellites. And so I've read reports that this thing doesn't necessarily pick up anything. I think it's, if you could move yours away, I think there we go. Perfect. And then just move it over when you're ready. This thing apparently doesn't pick up anything more than what you get from, I think it may be you. So you move your mic a little bit. There's just a nose whistle from somebody going on here that's driving me crazy.
I don't breathe, sir.
I know. So you can get a satellite to pick up all this information. The United States and Russia have pulled out of the Open Skies Treaty, so we don't. And China never signed on to it. But apparently there was a balloon. I'm trying to find the history here. Where it floated into. So let me just read you a little bit from this Forbes article. Busting that Chinese spy balloon is harder than you think. The problem of bringing down this type of balloon may be difficult. It is highly resistant to available weapons. It may look fragile, but the sheer size and construction of the stratospheric balloon makes it all but invulnerable. There's also a problem of getting to it. It rides in the stratosphere, far above airliners. Mm-hmm. They do this to take advantage of the change in wind direction with altitude to steer themselves to where they need to go, like ships. We have our own balloon program designed to lurk undetected in enemy airspace. Such balloons typically fly at 80,000 feet or more. NASA's versions cruise at 120,000 feet. An F-15 and an F-22, the Eagle and the Raptor, respectively, operate around 65,000 feet. So this thing operates about 15,000 feet more than a typical balloon. And while that might be able to get close enough to fire a missile, the balloon may be too high for them to actually shoot. So you're not going to hit it with your AR-15. So please don't get a murder charge because you accidentally killed someone by discharging your weapon. So we tend to think of like the Hindenburg disaster, but this isn't like that. These are colossal balloons. NASA's standard balloons are 40 million cubic feet, the equivalent of more than 195 Goodyear blimps, and you could fit an entire football stadium inside of one of these. The balloon envelope is made of plastic material no thicker than a sandwich wrap, and the pressure difference between inside and outside is small. Attempting to let the air out by punching a few holes with a bullet or a missile is like trying to ventilate an entire warehouse with fresh air by opening one small window. In 1998, a rogue Canadian weather balloon drifted towards Russian airspace. So Canada, Norway, and Sweden attempted to bring it down without success. 2 Canadian CF-18s hit the balloon with more than 1,000 rounds of 20-millimeter cannon fire off the coast of Newfoundland, riddling it with holes. That was not enough to let significant amount of gas out, and the balloon continued to drift. Volley of 2.78-inch rockets, 275-inch rockets, were equally ineffective as the high-explosive rockets simply flew through the balloon without detonating because it's too thin to actually trigger it. Maybe any missile fired may be a greater hazard to civilians when it lands than the balloon itself because, after all, the Chinese can get this with satellite information. Now, why are they actually launching this? So there was, in the last couple of days, now China has taken credit for it. They said this was just a weather balloon gone rogue. So it is it's out there. And they have taken credit for it. The military says, basically, it's just too disruptive. We can't take it down. And there's nothing we can do, so you just got to let it float. These things are usually hidden from the public view because they don't want everybody to get alarmed, and they don't want to shoot it down because they don't want ours shot down when we're flying over Russia, and usually they're undetected. But this got detected in Montana, and a picture was posted by a Billings newspaper, and that is how it got discovered. And so here's my theory on why we are hearing about this as opposed to other people, other balloons. President Biden has announced basically the U.S. military is expanding its presence in the Philippines, which leaves little doubt that we are positioning ourselves in America to constrain China's armed forces and defend against Taiwan. This was 3 days ago. So, Harry, what better way to make the American military and Joe Biden look like a bunch of feckless, ineffective boobs than to float a balloon where it can be seen, knowing they're not going to do anything, float a second balloon up through Latin America. There's one off Costa Rica right now. And knowing that they're not going to do anything, and then pump the internet with network propaganda from Chinese algorithms, especially targeting the right in the country, which already has a lot of networked capabilities and is already anti-China, anti-Biden. So you make sure that everybody knows it as a way to demoralize the American people and think that their American military can't protect them when you're planning to invade other countries. Does that sound like a good theory? That's my theory.
It could be something like you could say like it's little China projecting soft power, doing something like that. But right now, but China does these things all the time where they just put their fingers ever so closely to war. They're basically is that your little brother or sister that, I'm not touching you. I'm going to get up to the point of combat that right. You think you might have to do something, and then just back away because you can't do anything about that. And yes, they have tons of different bots and bot storms to come after people to try to get fervor of it. Then also the Biden administration probably wants to lean into that because everything else that's going on for the Democrats inside of Congress or the other crap storm with, classified documents that I already had our lawyers sweep the studio. We don't have any classified documents here. We're good. Because everyone keeps finding them in their garages.
Reinhold just remembers it. He doesn't write anything down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's why we don't let Reinhold keep anything here. Can I leave this old box of paperwork here? No, you cannot, Reinhold. But no,
I just want to store it. It's safekeeping.
But no, this balloon. I really do believe this is not the first, nor will be the last time that the Chinese government have lost control of something in the stratosphere or out of something in the stratosphere. They have lost control of satellites before. Then again, losing control of this weather balloon is possibly possible. Weather patterns did change. This could just be a legitimate accident from the Chinese government.
You have no control over weather balloons. They put them in the air and they just float. You just kind of plan them. And the thing is that this thing doesn't. It takes more than a day or two to prepare, get up and running, and get in the air and get all the way over here. It's this very slow moving, and these things are huge to fill it up and get it in the air and ready to go. They've had to have it going for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I find it amazing that they must have known about it, right? NORAD can track Santa. Why can't they track weather balloons?
We know that there's balloons. There's weather balloons. There's spy balloons. There's spy planes. There's all kinds of stuff going on over the top of all these countries, and has been for 70 years at least.
Yeah,
that's really the reason why we had what was the name of the UFO landed supposedly.
Oh, Roswell.
Yeah.
Roswell was one of those types of high.
What Area 54 was? It was basically where they did.
Yeah,
balloons.
This has been going on. We've had with Cold War in Russia. There has been constant.
Area 51.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of Club 54.
Yeah,
I was going to say 51. I thought 54.
54 is the New York dance club in the 70s. Sorry,
but but this stuff's been going on. Like I said, the Cold War. We had spy planes going over on top of each other. We all knew it was happening, and the governments knew it was happening. But it's like they can't call it out because if they call out, it's kind of like when we found out that Russia had hacked the DNC.
Yeah.
we couldn't say really how we knew. How we knew was because we had already hacked them.
Right.
And we were watching them do it. So it was hard to say that, but they had to kind of weasel their way around to saying it that way.
It kind of dovetails into a little bit of the Biden document story and the Trump document story. Like, Pence took documents. Dick Cheney has more documents than Donald Trump, but...
Well, the thing is, the whole thing with the documents is that... I don't know how much you want to get into that, but it's irritating because, I mean, technically I've mishandled classified documents. Mm-hmm. I got in trouble for it. I had to pay a penalty.
Oh yeah, because you were in the naval.
I was in the Navy. I was in the Navy nuclear power program.
Right.
We had top secret clearance. Blah blah. So we had to mark all our pages top secret on all our notes. I had forgot to mark a couple. They got found in my locker. Blah blah blah. So handling documents is hard, especially with the sheer number of documents that are. So the fact that the presidents aren't boxing up these documents. There's people coming in doing it. Some people don't catch it, and it gets stuck in somewhere with it, and that is understandable.
And there's a lot that's classified.
And there's not going to be any indictments over that kind of stuff, because if you find them and you go, "Oh, I found them. I better let somebody know and get them back where they're supposed to be." That's what they want you to do. So they're going to. You're cooperating. The Biden's lawyers, when they found him, could have just said, "Get to shredder. Let's burn this."
Yeah.
But they didn't.
The difference between the two stories is, so if you're not familiar with what happened, Joe Biden's lawyers were packing up his office in his Ivy League think tank, which who knew he had a think tank, but they all, if you remember the Clinton Foundation story, they start a foundation, it pays, they get paid to do a lot of speeches, they get paid to do think tank stuff. And so the University of Pennsylvania, I believe it was, had the Biden think tank, and he had taken a lot of documents as vice president. Somebody packed them up. Nobody seems to know who. And they stored them in this particular place. And as they were packing up to leave the offices because they were moving, they found, I believe it was like 10 classified documents. I don't know that any of them were classified top secret. Now, Mike Pence has found a couple of classified documents in his house in Columbus, Indiana. Now, they've asked all vice presidents and presidents to look for classified documents. As I understand it, it is fairly common for this kind of stuff to happen. And one of the good things about the Trump administration was that Trump did what a lot of other people do, or had happened to him what happens to a lot of other politicians, but he did it to such an egregious level that it becomes a topic of conversation and everybody can see how their government operates in the clear and open. Donald Trump didn't just pack up some stuff. Now, if you're listening to the Daily Wire, he did. But he basically had 54 boxes, and it was like 10,000 documents that he did not return to the archives, and there were 2 separate rounds. Yeah. And he had 300 classified documents, and many of those, I think it was like,
well, he went beyond
10
the
top
typical,
secret or something.
Yeah, the typical procedure to have somebody come in and go through things as they're packing up. He went through a different process because he's Trump and does things differently.
He took stuff like Roger Stone's pardon.
Yeah.
He took it
specifically targeted some stuff too.
He took stuff that, well, they're never going to let me tell my own story. I need to keep this stuff, or I can sell Roger Stone's pardon for a profit. Or, so I
have information on somebody I can use for leverage.
Exactly. So he took stuff that he knew he could use in some form or fashion later, didn't return these tens of thousands of documents to the National Archives. They asked for them back, knowing what was missing. He said no. They got into a legal fight, and that's what triggered the FBI coming in. It was not a raid. He called it a raid. Everybody else calls it a raid. And that was sort of Trumpian propaganda that we all bought into initially. They were executing a warrant for something because this man took documents that belonged to the United States government.
And a perfect example is that once they found all this stuff, they had lawyers going into other storage areas.
Yeah.
And they found a couple of documents in a storage locker that Trump had. And the Department of Justice was like, okay, that is understandable. That there's no intent at that point. So that's the thing about
Harry's telling us to reel it in.
I'm just going to say it, but that's really the point. There is that there's mens rea, there is intent. The intent was not for Pence or for Biden or any of these people. There's a story about a little girl.
Allegedly, as far as we can tell.
But we have good, provable intent on Trump's side that he meant to take those.
Including him saying it at a rally.
Yeah. He's admitted to everything.
He said it at a rally to try and shift the news cycle away from the Nick Fuentes stuff, and it didn't work. He just admitted to the Stormy Daniels stuff on Truth Social, the thing he is being investigated for. He admitted to. I don't know. Anyways, all right. Enough about that. I don't know. Do you guys what do you want to say about the spy balloon? Go ahead, James.
I don't know. Like, I just heard when Reinhold was talking about like storing top secret nuclear documents in his locker. I was just expecting the flashbang to come through the window, bro. It's like, let's go, let's boog it.
Vincent,
the whole spy balloon it's ridiculous to me. It's like, what information are they going to get that isn't going to be given voluntarily by people who are already giving that information?
Yeah.
Tencent, which is a gaming company, owns League of Legends and most of Epic Games. So anybody who plays Fortnite or League of Legends, they're already giving their information.
Is it a
willingly.
Chinese company, Tencent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, not only a Chinese company, they're giving 30% of their profits to the CCP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And to be a large company, you have to have someone, a member of the party,
right,
in your company. You have to have it. You have to have a person in the party in your company.
Right.
So anybody who plays, any parents who like, here, son, you can play Fortnite and put Fortnite on their thing. They're willingly giving their information to the CCP anyway.
And TikTok, obviously. There's the debate about TikTok.
So TikTok, so you put it on your phone, so it's getting your GPS information. It's already picking up radio signals. So I don't know what you think this balloon is getting that your phone, that you're not also giving with your phone.
So talk a little bit about TikTok and the why they want to ban it and what's the problem with it.
TikTok. They want to ban TikTok because
I'm guessing you don't have it on your phone.
No, I do not.
I have to for work, but you do. So why don't you put it on your phone? What's the problem with it?
TikTok, because when someone reverse engineered TikTok, they found out that TikTok is, I don't want to get into this too much, but TikTok's app is doing just what most social media companies are doing. They're pulling in all this information, but with a lot of American companies are using it for ad revenue and selling ads for you. It's more of the unknown of what the CCP is using this information for and gathering. We all do know that, which we found out from Ukraine, is that a lot of the state agencies are using this information that they're stealing from people's phone from social media sites and using it to target things. This is the main reason when stupid people went over to Ukraine, a lot of things got bombed early on because they were just used like, oh, you posted this on Instagram? Thanks for leaking our metadata. Right. We know exactly where the heck you are. It's the same thing, same way with the Ukrainians going after the Russians because Russians had TikTok and, doing stupid stuff on their phones. But and like I said, with the clipboard thing, so when someone reverse engineered TikTok, they also found out that it was copying your clipboard, which a lot of people use for they type in passwords or copy and paste passwords because they've got it saved somewhere. Or let's say I texted you the password to the bank and you put it in your clipboard, a copy from the text message, and you post it there. Cool. The TikTok app scans your entire clipboard every freaking time.
Right. So, it's like it's like NASA gathering all of our metadata for our emails and phone calls and text messages. And they have access to it all, but they say they just look at the metadata.
Metadata is huge. And NSA, not NASA.
And everybody, not NASA, the NSA. And every government on Earth, well, most major governments probably do all this stuff too and collect all of this information. And they say, well, it's just metadata, Harry. The Chinese government and the American government are just taking the metadata of your email. Why is that a big deal? What does that mean?
The United government claims metadata. The Chinese government takes everything. They don't care. They don't have no civil. The Chinese government doesn't care. They will take your information. They will take that. Just like, all right, so everyone's seen a lot of these protests that happened in China, and Hong Kong, and all these protests over over the COVID protesting, right? And the Chinese government supposedly relaxed a lot of that and we've gotten rid of zero COVID, stuff like that, which they kind of did. They kind of did relax it, but they did not take that lying down. A lot of those people that did all that they're gone. They're gone. They've been picked up.
Yeah.
A lot of people who were
they just
close to that
pinged the
because of their
metadata.
metadata,
They searched the metadata location.
They found the phone and they picked them up and took them. They are gone. They are missing. All those brave men and women in China that stood up to the CCP, they'll probably never be seen again. They're gone.
Yeah.
You know? You watch those protests. Every those people holding up the A4 protests, holding up the blank A4 sheets of paper, they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go through their
fear.
They go through their phones and they find some reason to put them in a prison camp.
Not even. They can just go, oh, this is where you are. Well, you protested, and then they don't really have to give a reason because there's nobody that holds them accountable.
Right.
Because they hold themselves accountable. Yeah. So, like, you guys are against us, we're just going to take you away and put you in these camps next to these Uyghurs that we've been still having camps that nobody wants to talk about anymore.
Uyghurs, the Falun Gong. The Chinese government. China is asshole, okay?
China is asshole. Yes, CCP is
It is a terrible, terrible organization. The Chinese people are amazing, but the CCP, they're the a-holes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a movie I just watched called The Laundromat on Netflix that is basically a movie version of the Panama Papers, and they talk about China and the Falun Gong and how they just basically you're just part of this cult, and then they come in and they harvest your organs.
Yep.
So check that out.
Yeah,
which where Epoch comes in.
Yeah.
The Epoch Times is run by the Falun Gong, which they came to New York to start an anti-Chinese paper, an anti-CCP paper, which was the Epoch Times, which then got funded by the Mercers, I believe, or some. No, I think it was just they became sort of like right wing as an organization. So
they linked because people were because they realized who was buying their paper.
Right.
Like a lot of people on the right wing was actually buying into it and liking something because they did try to get some of the.
Well, the right's going to be more anti-CCP, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that makes sense.
All right, so let's end there on that discussion. We'll flesh more of this stuff out in the future. We'll talk TikTok more. Harry, anytime you can rant about China, you're happy.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
The only thing that makes him happier is Elon Musk.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and then when we return, we will start talking about AI and ChatGPT. It seems to be more present in our lives. And, should you be scared to death? Is the Terminator coming for you? So stay tuned. We'll talk about it right after this. Welcome back.
It's a chat box.
Welcome back to the Chris Spangle Show and We Are Libertarians here on the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Want to say thank you to all of our patrons who support us. We really do appreciate it, especially our $100 a month subscribers, starting with Jason Doolittle, who this studio is named after Jason Doolittle because he helped us get it all set up. Christy Avery, Reinhold, Vincent Peichel, Matthew Durbin, Lars Nordskog, and Jake Edel. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Now, I wake up every day, and as I'm kind of waking up and watching the Bob and Tom show, whom I work for, on YouTube, I'm just sort of scanning news articles on Memorandum, the Drudge Report, Real Clear Politics, what's the Alternet or whatever? I forget. But generally I like to go to like aggregators just to scan the headlines and see what everybody's talking about. And I first heard of ChatGPT about 2 months ago at an industry event amongst kind of the local tech crowd, and they said ChatGPT would be disruptive. Then about a month after that, I saw that Google has put out a red alert about this new thing called ChatGPT, that it's basically going to destroy their business, and so some new product is disrupting them right at the time they're being sued for antitrust because no one could ever bring down Google except for the federal government. And then now, over the last 2 weeks, I've seen stories like, literally one of the headlines was, "Will ChatGPT destroy democracy?" Every college exam, I'm going to read you actually something that a college professor sent me, and I'll be a little vague so they don't get in trouble, but ChatGPT has the education industry completely panicked that it's going to destroy the college essay. 90% of content will be written by AI. I saw a pastor named Mark Driscoll yesterday say, what happens when 90% of the content written on the internet is done by ChatGPT and it's controlled by demons? So now we've added the spiritual realm to it. BuzzFeed just laid off a bunch of employees, and they said that they're going to start using ChatGPT to write a bunch of their quizzes. I have seen nothing but doom and gloom around ChatGPT and artificial intelligence and how it's going to steal everyone's job coming up. Now, just to kind of further set the paranoia here that you're experiencing if you're reading the news about this thing, and then we'll explain a little bit about what it is and what it does. So this college professor wrote to me, I've already seeded the ground on homework in my classes. Students are already using it in our programming courses. Idiots who got 30% are retaking the class, all of a sudden have a perfect A-plus code with comments so far this semester. It's going to nullify a huge sector of colleges and universities. So we started putting instructions into ChatGPT to see how smart it actually is if we give it limited information, i.e. what a student would copy and paste from the question. So we'd say, write code for this basic programming thing that you'd learn at college. And in minutes, it wrote the entire thing with good variable names, properly commented code. It was flawless. And if a student turned that in, I would never grade anything they turned in again because I would just give them an A for the course because they clearly already mastered the subject. So if we ask them to code 3 programs like we do on exams, a 3-4 hour exam will now take 10 minutes. It's that good at understanding what I teach. So we don't really have a good answer for it except to maybe not do homework or let them cheat and do homework and then use other tools during the exam to proctor everybody. Or some in the university are saying that we now have to have blue books. So you'll be writing out your code like Elon Musk, printing out your code. You'll be sitting down and writing your code into blue books as opposed to doing quizzes the way that you did it. I have used ChatGPT, so let me pull it up so you can kind of see what this does. I have very limited. I don't know if you guys are any of you guys using it for anything.
I want to just make a comment on that professor.
Okay, go ahead.
There's already a program that exists that goes through ChatGPT and sees what the possible variables that it can give because it can only give so many answers.
Right.
And then we'll go through the tests of people using it and go, oh, this is ChatGPT, and then fail them.
Right.
So that already exists. They already found a way to fix that being an issue. Yeah. Like that.
And anybody thinking they can't just go on Google and find that same code
Exactly.
already posted somewhere, which they've been doing for a decade.
Okay,
Perfectly honest, it is teaching them how to get a programming job. You know, you're going to stay on Stack Overflow all day and Google tab open.
Right.
Your director's going to tell you, like, hey,
I'm not saying that's not how I do it.
Yeah, I mean,
to be perfectly honest, honestly, like, homework with ChatGPT is teaching you, getting you ready for the real world.
right, and not only that,
finding
not
efficiencies.
Even, not even
to do
using
your
the
job
programming
quicker.
part, like the essays part. There's ChatGPT only has so many ways of wording things, so the way it's worded sounds very unnatural, and it comes off as it being an AI because it only has so much vocabulary and so much understanding.
It's going to improve.
That's easy to
I mean, I
find
think
out what it is.
that's the
As
real
of right
issue.
now, this is what
So
it is.
hold on. So who created ChatGPT? Do you guys know the history of it?
What is it called? What is the company called?
OpenAI?
Yeah, OpenAI. Yeah, they created that also with Midjourney too, right? Yeah. For the
And
digital one.
Microsoft is looking at buying it for a large amount of money. It's usually overburdened, and because so many people are using it, so they're introducing a paid tier to get around the fail whale. And basically, there's like these big crawls on the internet. And so 2 years ago, it did this crawl of 60% of the internet, and that's apparently how it ingested its information and created its knowledge bank. So it has a knowledge of me. So if you ask it, who is Chris Spangle, like I'll show you here.
But that's how Google got its information, or any search engine.
Right.
It just crawls through anything anyways.
And you can block those bots if you want to. So.
Yeah. The other one is that I have been using ChatGPT for code review. I actually was like #1 code reviewer for like a week for using ChatGPT.
You just throw it in there because it has a basic understanding of it because code is very, this is how it's done. It's not as opinion based or open based.
I mean, at some point, I want to have the conversation. We can do this later, but my concern, my question is why is this? Because people consider this a bad thing. I mean, it's just like when we got the telephone or we got electricity.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that point in just a second. So it just asked it who am I, and it didn't have it. But when I previously asked it who is Chris Spangle, it said he's an American libertarian podcaster, writer, and speaker. He's the founder and director of the We Are Libertarians podcast network and former host of the We Are Libertarians podcast. Spangle is also the publisher of the We Are Libertarians website, which features a bunch of, and it goes on. He believes in he's a vocal advocate. I asked it to tell me more. It added the same information with very benign information, like he has been a frequent guest on various radio and television programs and written articles and essays for various publications related to libertarianism and related topics. I said, is Chris Spangle famous? Chris Spangle is this is how I know it's full of shit, is a well-known figure in the libertarian community and is considered a respected commentator on libertarianism and related political issues. He has a large following on social media, and his podcast, We Are Libertarians, has been consistently popular for many years, Harry. He is also well-known and well-respected among libertarian-leaning individuals, activists, and organizations. So then I asked it to rewrite this in the voice of Keith Morrison from Dateline. And it wrote, "Good evening. I'm Keith Morrison, and welcome to Dateline. Today we take you on a journey on the heart of the libertarian movement. Our story centers around one man, Chris Spangle. He's the blah, blah, blah. So it adds like the phrase. You can ask it to rewrite it. Like, let's rewrite in the voice of William Shakespeare.
What you spell Shakespeare? Oh,
Grammarly on steroids.
You're mad at this because this AI program gasses you up when your own friends will be like, "Man, this podcast sucks."
I know, right?
Well, he's mad about that because he's going to get the Mirror app on his phone, in his bathroom, and this is what he's going to read every day. He's brushing his teeth.
I mean,
based off that, we should have better monetization, right? That's what we're saying.
Right, exactly.
So
Where's our money?
Oh,
Pay
fair
me.
citizens of this great land, allow me to impart unto thee the tale of a man of noble spirit, a man of great conviction and unwavering resolve, a man with a steadfast heart and relenting purpose, doth fight for the cause of individual freedom and limited government, a man by the name of Chris Spangle." I love this thing. This is great.
ChatGPT, he ain't gonna fuck you, bro. Like you don't gotta simp like that.
So I use it. I use it to kind of. So I've done some research with it. So I'm doing a show on the protocols of the Elders of Zion. And basically what it gives you, you've got to know what questions to ask it, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of gives you the first paragraph on Wikipedia if you're using it for what I use it for, right? So and I also will take something and say, put this into bullet points. So then it becomes sort of a bullet pointed thing, and I found it to be something that is... this is interesting. So I'm using it at work to I'm using GLASP to transcribe YouTube videos at work.
Okay.
Then I put the transcript in the GPT and say summarize it. Sometimes it gives me about 10 to 20% I can use. But it says this video appears to, it's a song about yoga pants and basically how he just likes looking at girls' butts and yoga pants. So we work for a comedy radio show. It's a parody song. Okay. This video appears to be a comedic song about a person's experience with yoga and their attraction to a person in yoga pants. The video includes audio of someone doing yoga and references to farts and a shapely ass. This video concludes with the speaker's enjoyment of the song being spoiled by a child. It's hard to explain. It is not appropriate to create such content, and it is disrespectful to individuals and groups that are targeted. So when I'm doing my protocols of the Elder of Zion, this is a very bad thing. Don't believe this. It's very much a scold in some cases, but so it doesn't get comedy. And so I'm using it for basic research like I would on Wikipedia. What I would do is I would go, what is this thing, to Google, and it'd give me 5 websites. I'd read the 5 websites, and I'd summarize it. Mm-hmm. This is just doing it quicker.
Yeah, it's doing more work for you than Google. That's why Google thinks this is a threat, because really, why wouldn't you just go there and say, find a recipe for sweet potato mashed, mashed sweet potatoes, and then have it not only just find it, but then print it out for you and list it,
Right.
and you're ready to go. You don't have to
Reformat
go
it.
to the website,
Right.
and do all this stuff, and
So we are thinking about doing an IndyCar podcast here on the network. Give me 20 names for an IndyCar podcast. None of these are very good, but it gives you 20. You could ask for 100 and it'd come up with 100.
But it gives you information that you can then maybe spark an idea off.
Right. So write me 20 prompts on a post about IndyCar. And it gave me 20 prompts, like the history of the Indianapolis 500 and its impact on American motorsports, the role of team strategy in IndyCar races. So bloggers are using it as a way to kind of be like a brainstorming tool to write.
And you said it earlier, it makes more sense. Like there's the websites that are out there just to try to get clicks. So they put the 10 things about this or 5 things about that.
Right.
That's so much easier to do with a program like this. And make money because you're just getting click views, right? So
it's basically used as a way to make the lower effort content stuff of like, oh, it's the top 10 whatever shows. You can just go, cool, give me 10 of these and you can do it. Another good example is somebody had the idea of, if you're like, let's say you're a content creator and you use it to give like a basic outline of a script that you can use and enhance to be how do it fit your personality or your wording, and basically use it as like an outline for what you're going to do.
To start, like when we do coding, as we said before, we don't start with a blank coding editor and just start typing.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to pull something else in and build off of it. I know you do, but that's so. But it's like kind of like Grammarly on steroids, isn't it? I mean, this is like giving us the ability to have, and I think it might improve what we're reading on the internet by upping the level of not just grammar, but the way sentences, English, and understanding is going to be a way it's going to sound more intelligent, and people may learn from that. Hey, maybe this is the way we should be communicating. These are the types of language we should be using. These are the types of sentence structures we're getting used to again. Like we used to hundreds of years ago, people used to do a lot more writing and reading than we do now. So people had when you read like letters back, people used to send letters back and forth back in like 1700s. We're looking at the letters centering around the founding of the country. You read those and you go, these people really wrote well.
They didn't have dick to do.
Yeah.
Grow their own food.
But
a plant, water the plant for the day, and all right, I guess I fed the pigs and watered the plant. Now I'll go read for 19 hours.
But this tool may bring that back a little bit by getting people used to that type of language to where it's better to understand. It's more clear. It's more concise. It makes communication with each other better. So I mean, there's a possibility this could be used in a good way for that.
Go ahead, Harry, and then Vincent.
The other thing I see for it is also the good thing for also ADA compliancy for other websites, so it can ingest photos and be able to describe what this photo is. So that alt photo that you see, to help people who are visually impaired for websites, or just use as screen readers.
People do that now, but it's more manual process. So an automated process.
I think everybody in the knowledge industry is constantly having coworkers let go and then asked to do more. And especially in writing and journalism and, in my industry and radio, for instance, it's an invaluable tool for efficiencies to help you write the description a little bit beefier, a little bit faster. I'm going to have to rewrite it. I'm still going to have to put it in my voice, but it's been great for kind of formatting and research.
Wait till you can say, put it in the voice of Chris Spangle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you've ingested enough of your own stuff, and that's sort of the problem. We'll get to other forms of AI, but Vincent, you were going to make a point.
The other thing about ChatGPT, it will give you what you put into it. Yeah. So you could, like, I was listening to somebody talk about it yesterday, and when they were talking about how they put in the prompt to write an article about how veganism and the increase of people watching anime in the West are connected. And they made up the ChatGPT made up a bunch of BS reasons of how it could mesh together because it was just taking the prompt you gave it and it made a bunch of silly arguments of why this is the case. So it's very much whatever you put into it is what you'll get out of it.
Garbage is garbage out.
Exactly.
It's true because like what happens is like you ingest the soy makes you a femboy. When you're a femboy, you get attached to certain like gotcha games and you kind of relate to this gotcha character, and then you're going to the pipe hole of like anime. It's just don't eat soy and you'll never like enjoy anime. I'm not saying like I'm soy proof, but I got soy in me and like I enjoy anime a little bit. It's just
And I don't have soy, and I don't enjoy anime, so maybe that's something there. I don't know.
Let me show you one use that a content creator is using. Many of you may be familiar with Austin Peterson. He's a libertarian, conservative, Republican type radio guy.
With an E, make sure it's ER.
He gets upset about that. He is doing reviews of various philosophical. So I messaged him this morning just to ask. But watch this video, and we'll kind of break down how he's doing it. And it's got 1,600 likes. Let's turn on the music. There's no music. What am I doing? So basically, what he's doing, if we could hear it, why can't you hear it? Let me.
Did you share with audio?
Oh, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Let me go back. Sorry.
This is a professional podcast.
What edit this out?
Yeah,
One of your professional
It says
guys.
audio tab. What? Oh. I don't know. Here we go.
Just set.
Private police. In this system, individuals are free to make their own economic decisions without interference.
That's going to
by the
distort,
state.
Chris.
Regulations arise naturally from the marketplace and on the laws of supply and demand. It is not the same as anarchy.
Anyway, so we don't need the audio really because we're going to talk, but everyone's beside themselves,
Bro, like you treated that laptop like it's a Line 6 guitar amp. You're like, let me just throw the microphone on it. And we're just gonna record it.
This is what happens when you don't show up for a mic check. Okay, this is
So-
what happens.
Yeah, where were you at rehearsal?
basically what Austin is doing is he's using auto AI generated photos to get around copyright issues. Because if you use photos of other people, it's copywritten. And so he's creating AI photos, and then he's having ChatGPT probably write the script for him.
And there's a
Just-
program reading it. Probably there's a.
I
robot
think he's
program.
the one reading it, but he's probably using something to auto subtitle it. And so now he's saving. And if he were to go and draw all of these images, write the script, find photos that are copyright free, he'll have half the photos. It's going to take him probably 10 hours longer to create this thing that probably took him 2 hours now or 1 hour, right? And so if you're a creator, that's really good and really helpful and really makes it a lot easier. I mean, I use Grammarly every day of my life. I scan 56,000 words a week because of all the stuff that I write. I'm a copy editor. I'm a writer.
Have you had it draw a hand yet?
I have not had it draw a hand, but I use Grammarly, which is a form of artificial intelligence to check stuff. In coding and stuff like that, that's the knowledge world, the influencer world that I live in. What implications does this have? What does this do for all of your nerd stuff?
We recognize you as a content creator, but we do not respect you as a coder or programmer. Sorry.
No, I'm not
We want
at
to make
all.
sure. We want to make sure that distinction's there. And
This is outrageous. No one's ever been on this council.
Here's a distinction I want to make, though, and I think Harry and I probably have a conversation about this a little bit that might bore everybody.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Is this actually artificial intelligence? I don't think so. This is just programming.
This is algorithms. Yeah.
Reading databases and doing programmed analysis of that data. This isn't artificial intelligence. People are starting to use this term so grandly.
It's because they're not going
Where's
to
the
the
Turing test on this
microtubules.
stuff? This isn't artificial intelligence. This is artificial programming.
Yes.
Okay, that is boring.
The
You're
answer is
right.
yes.
That's totally
all right,
boring.
I'm down for
It's
this
a
extra conversation.
No, you
it's
can
a
have this
huge
on Loki Wall.
distinction.
No, so
it's a huge distinction now.
What is the distinction and why do I care?
Because people associate artificial intelligence with thinking machines.
Okay,
These
what's
machines are not
intelligent? What's
thinking.
artificial intelligence then?
Artificial intelligence is a goal that we want to get to that is still hundreds of years away, probably, where machines are actually able to think on their own.
The singularity is coming in like 7 years. What are you talking about? 100 years.
No, it's not.
I heard
This is
that
not-
30 years ago.
This algorithm, this is all algorithms. You're just scanning
This is
images and
programming.
algorithms over and over and over again. This is all it really
It's
is.
good programming. It's good programming based off of a huge database, data warehousing. This is still not intelligence.
So you're saying the distinction is when the computer can think like I can, that's artificial intelligence.
Yeah, when it passes a Turing test.
Okay. Which is what? Explain that to
Oh,
me.
a Turing test, Alan Turing put together a test to try to test whether...
What was the movie that was
machines-
about him that was really good?
Imitation Game?
Imitation Game, yeah.
Oh, that was
really good.
But there's he put together this test, and it's probably can be better refined later now that we're more modern into it. But ways to say whether something is just coding and responding to what you say in a pre-coded way, or whether or not it's actually thinking about it, whether it's actually drawing conclusions, learning, and then putting out something that wasn't in its original programming.
So, and then I guess I still don't know why I care what you're
Well,
saying.
because
whether you call it AI or
when you
not,
say-
whatever.
But when you say
'Cause you're
AI, then
you're
you're
computing
talking,
and
you're starting to conflate Terminator and other fearsome self-thinking machines.
HAL 9000.
Yeah, people are starting suddenly starting to equate this to that, where people are saying, "Oh, this is chat AI, this is artificial intelligence." Oh no, and that's Elon Musk does this
It's
stuff
just
where he's always
faster
constantly talking
computing.
about it.
Yeah,
It's-
Elon Musk is very against this. ChatGPT has passed like several different exams. Like
But that's because
board
the people who write the exams aren't prepared for this, and they're being lazy.
That's
They
true,
need
too.
They're just using the same.
Yeah,
ones
it's
from
like
years.
people
Right.
who used to write exams and weren't thinking about the fact that Google existed and doing homework without thinking of the fact that Google existed. Now they know that, so they're starting to change the way they do their testing and examinations.
And homework,
and now
yeah.
we got to do it again. 'cause
So
this is-
basically, what you're saying is like you shouldn't be afraid of it passing the U.S. medical licensing exam because that information already exists. This is just accessing it faster. It doesn't mean that this is a more intelligent machine. It's just able to put together the data in a quicker amount of time than you might be able to. And the test is either not that good or hasn't changed that much.
Or it's
I
really
could
easy to find the information because it's scanning the entire internet. When it's like, how do you
Yeah.
do this? And it just goes, well, here's 18 examples of this, so I can just answer.
And,
that
and to
question.
me, it doesn't. Hold on, and me then Reinhold then Harry. To me, it doesn't matter because you're not learning it if you're just reading this and copying it over. There's a mode of learning that still needs to take place. And so if you're just reading ChatGPT and writing the answer, like I took 2 semesters of Spanish a year and a half ago. I didn't learn anything about Spanish because I didn't learn the material. I just figured out a way in the homework system to get everything wrong, see the key, and then go retake it. So I was, that wasn't artificial intelligence. That was me being lazy. Go ahead and write home.
But the program passing these tests is no different than you going in there with an open book and having access to all the information.
Right.
As you read the test, you go, okay, this is a question. I can go look it up here in the book. Oh, here's my answer. Yeah, you passed
If
that,
you
no
use
problem.
ChatGPT all semester and then you go in and take the quiz, you're going to fail because you didn't learn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I being an old
Well,
man and crazy
you-
here, or
you-
is this correct?
You're likely to fail because you didn't learn it, but sometimes these tools like this, if you're looking to actually learn, can help you learn.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, okay, fill out all this information for me for this homework, and then you look at the answers and go, oh, I see how they got there. Okay, this makes sense. You can learn that way.
It's the
but
difference
it's not,
between using it as a tool and using it as the answer.
As a cheat.
When you're using
Yeah.
it to learn it, and it's like, well, I don't understand how to do this. I put the question in, it explains how it works. Then I learned how it works, so I could reproduce it. It's different than just going, boom, here's the answer. I turn the test in. I don't care.
Yeah. You can also see the difference with like photographers who actually learn how a photograph is taken from the digital camera or just a physical like paper, like the old film style camera. When did they learn how to take a photo versus how do they do now? Most of them, most newer photographers are just finding like, you know what, I can clean this up in Photoshop using just another basically algorithmic program to help clean up a lot of work, which a old school film photographer, that took time. You had to take a good photo and, took time in a lab to actually fix that photo.
So, James, you're the most transhumanist of us all here, of everybody I know. You basically have merged with technology, as far as I'm concerned. What's your take on ChatGPT, and should we be concerned about something about AI basically creating a lot of information quickly?
No, it's like I said. It's just like you open the room to like GPT, and you expect to find like this hive mind that's just like running everything, but really it's just like some freaking nerd with a SQL database. It's like, oh, if I actually drop this table, I guess they can't learn about cooking today. It's just. it's people get feared from it because like I think it's like back even like in the 60s and like 50s 60s, you know, you had like the old sci-fi things where you're talking about robots and space travel. It was always negative. Robots from outer space shooting you, like you're going to get a singularity, it's going to eat your soul, right? Even like cyberpunk literature is always dystopian, and then, like the only example I can think of that's like a positive thing of a robot is the Jetsons.
Centennial Man.
Yeah, even Blade Runner, like replicants. Yeah, like a lot of the media was
Star
like,
Trek, yeah.
it's been so entangled with science fiction, especially horror, that people are afraid of it. And like, why are they afraid of it? Because like people are afraid of being like obsolete. And
but isn't that sort of a legitimate fear when you had 15 people that would write BuzzFeed's articles? Now you have 2.
What
I mean,
it says to me is that writing BuzzFeed articles was easy, and that job didn't matter because you can just replace it with an AI.
It's low value.
That's the
It's just
issue.
like
with
but those human
modern-
beings still exist. Those human beings still need to work. What are they going to do?
It was the same
Find
thing.
something
It was the
else.
same thing in the 30s when we had
Learn
the
to
movie
code.
Modern Times come out, and we had discussion about robotics in the workplace and machines doing the jobs of humans.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's not a new
robotics really
thing.
worked out great in the for the automotive industry.
It did. It worked really great for the automotive
For the automotive
It keeps-
industry, but
keeps
not
somebody-
for the people living in northern central Indiana.
Right. They just have to find another way to make money.
Oh,
Did
we
you
can
just learn to code? Did
Oh, we
you
can
just
just
say
move
learn to
it to
code?
No,
the-
I didn't say learn to code. I just said find a you can It was funny because in the movie Modern Times, they hire back the guy to maintain the robot that's doing the work. You can find other work in that area and do other things. You can move beyond that and go, okay, now I'm going to plan all this stuff out, put all this stuff into the systems, program this stuff, and that's not technically learn to
James,
code.
your argument is that, I mean, what the free market compels people to be at the top of their skills at all times and pushes them to be better?
No, it's because people are so disconnected from like actual learning today, right? It's like you can go like thousands of years ago, like people were just able to do trajectories in the stars to find their way from like Iceland to Greenland to like wherever they want to go. They'd sell completely just by doing simple math in their head where the stars are, the placements of the stars are able to do that. People were able to go out to a field like nothing around and like build up houses, build up entire communities. That's all the knowledge basically learned and their experiences learning. Today, we're so disconnected from the evolutionary process that your food is like basically in a square box that's processed and shipped out to you. You eat it. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know what's in it. It's just, here's your slab of pork that comes from a processing facility that's just done automatically for you. This is how your drink is made. It's done automatically for you. Your houses are prefabricated. It's automatically done for you. It's printed for you. You have no concept of how to do anything. Like if this all collapsed and you all went into the woods, your first instinct would be, I got to go hunt some food, right? But everybody would be doing that, and you'd wipe out the entire like population of a forest in like a week. There'd be no animals left, and you'd all starve to death because you don't know how to pace yourself. You don't know how to like survive anymore. You don't know how to learn anymore. So people like see AI and something that could do something automatically better than you. They feel like, well, what skills can I learn? If this thing can learn all my skills and do it better, I don't have any skills. I don't know anything besides how to do my job. And it's just a existential crisis with people that they don't know their purpose anymore because it's been so automatic since the Industrial Revolution. You don't know how to behave.
Isn't that because that is kind of the anti-humanist, transhumanist wing, especially people who sort of gravitate toward Hoppe, and I am definitely a reactionary, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound good, right? So, and that's sort of why isn't that the Marxian critique is it's this technology is alienating human beings, and we need
But it's also freeing them.
Hold on, let him finish, but.
Oh no!
That insecurity, that alienation, doesn't seem to be a good thing.
Well, because like people want a utopia, right? Where it's like, well, maybe we get to like post scarcity, where like everybody has what they need and what they desire, and like it's not saying like your life's fulfilled. It's just saying like all desires are basically met, like your food, your water, your shelter, because it's all automated. The AI will do it for you. Robots will do it for you. You can kind of just enjoy life and do what you want to do. But like, what if you don't hit a post scarcity, right? What if like you have the AI, the robots, and like still there's inequality? You don't get your basic utilities. So you're kind of like living in RVs or tent cities in like the middle of Portland. And that could easily happen as well because people think like, oh, I'm going to hit a post scarcity society. It's going to be great. We're going to have like my cyberware and we're going to do this. It can be the total opposite. And it's just when people think of AI and they call like this AI and they think they're just robots and they're just like, well, if it's going to replace you, then it won't happen to them because like when the factory workers, it affects low-scale jobs, like, putting parts in a box.
Which is part of the panic now is that this is affecting knowledge work, so the white-collar workers who write the articles are going...
I mean, it's already done in IT. I could physically click your control panel, uninstall your program, or I could copy and paste the PowerShell that does it for me. You know what I mean? It's like I can just run that 100 times. Like I'm not physically doing it anymore. It's like all done by PowerShell, and then people are like, well, you still have to Google it. It's like, no, everybody's kind of bad at IT. You're just better at Googling than like everybody else. Finding the exact line of code that's going to work and replicating it over and over and over. Anybody can do that.
What he's saying, Harry, is that everybody's already Googling anyways. Why are we freaking out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is the answer for all of it.
You're already using a lot of this type of things to accelerate your life anyways currently right now. You think you're a great photographer with your iPhone? No.
No, right. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, Ryan, go ahead. James, finish your point, and then...
No, it's like... It's not bad to go to technology because, let's be real, like, flesh is malleable, weak, and soft. You know what I mean? It's like... You get diseases, you get older, your bones fail, like your heart fails, your liver fails, like these things fail. Like technology does have a way, and like probably the future to fix some of that stuff. And we already have like pacemakers for your heart when your heart starts to go bad. They're already working on ways, like I think they're still doing things in Alcor where they'll freeze parts of your body and trying to perfect that process to bring things back, because they can bring back certain animals now. They can clone out certain animals and kind of fix up problems that were existent in these animals before they were frozen. It has the potential to like extend your life and extend your like way of thinking and a way of like living, because eventually like the planet itself, this planet does have like a finite like lifespan. Eventually it's just gonna erode and like blow up and you have to go to space, but going to space is dangerous. There's tons of radiation in space. Can your flesh survive 20 years in like open space? Because if we go to space, but it's still within like our stratosphere and our atmosphere, like we're not way out there in space beyond planets. The amount of radiation that's out there, you wouldn't live more than a year. You would just completely die from cancer at that point. Yep. So like your flesh cannot physically survive space, so you can't leave the planet based on like what you are, flesh and bone. Now you're going to have to do something shielding on like the spaceships, cryonic sleep, replacing like your most vulnerable organs with like actual like machinery just to survive going to like another planet in the future. If you want to do that, like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 years in the future, like it has to do that if you want to evolve. But we're so removed from the evolutionary process from like the finches on like Galapagos Islands and stuff, where like the finches would just change their beaks based on what their diet is. Humans don't do that anymore. Humans haven't done that in like thousands of years, where we adapt to our environment. We let the environment adapt for us, and from that we just lose all sort of purpose. So we need to be able to rely on that to like next step in the evolutionary process to go like beyond what we are now. But if we just say, like, no, I'm scared of it because like it's reading a database for me, you'll never get there.
Yep.
Go ahead, Harry.
The other thing what I wanted to bring up is the other thing with the work goes on side of Ryan Holt's artificial intelligence is augmented intelligence. I see ChatGPT just be another step just to augmenting human intelligence, the add-on to a piece to us.
Right.
Just like we use computers, or because computers used to be a person, and then now it's a physical device. It's getting closer and closer to us. Most people don't do like large math problems in their head anymore. They just pick up their phone, just like when Nisa trying to do calculation to figure out how to go somewhere. We don't do that thinking for us. We allow this device to do the thinking for us to find out where we need to go. How do we map this thing out? We don't memorize phone numbers because we augmented our intelligence with this technology.
You're never going to have a calculator in your pocket when you grow up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'd love to have my math teacher because I had it on my wrist.
Right. Yeah. You seem like a calculator watch kind of dude.
And you watching the movie Apollo 13, and they're sitting there having to figure out trajectories, and they're pulling out slide rules because they don't have access to computers at the time.
Right.
Oh man, good.
I think it's the struggle of like, what does it mean to be human, and like this, I think triggers for me like I'm not going to say we don't need more humans, but like we need more humans, but we don't need more robots that are humans, right? We need like the beauty of being a human and connecting to the vulnerability of the human perspective, I think is really important. and having a piece of literature or art created by a robot seems almost like a betrayal.
You're thinking that art is going to be as powerful and as
there's a
quality as what the humans can.
Let me just add, there's a difference between a human guiding the machine to create something cool, like the special effects on Saving Private Ryan, versus the AI Seinfeld show, Nothing Forever, on Twitch that's streaming right now. Basically, these guys created a Seinfeldian parody in 8-bit visuals with ChatGPT writing the script, and it's slowly improving. And it's not funny, but you can tell that it's becoming more Seinfeldian in the third month of its existence. It's 24/7, and the creators say, we don't need limits on seasons. You don't need seasons of a TV show. You can have your favorite type of content in a 24/7 stream that never exists because we can just have AI create the visuals and the jokes and the content. What happens when we get to the point where that thing sounds like Seinfeld? Because that's going to happen. Right now, it's ridiculous, and you go, well, I can watch 4 minutes of this because it's interesting to see the technology. But what happens when humans are useless in the creative, or we have large swaths? James, where am I being a Luddite? Am I wrong? Because it seems to me like that would be not great.
There's still limitations of what you say, that it's going to get better and it's going to get as good as. I don't know if it ever will, because it's not something that there's a human element of thought and intelligence that goes into certain things that isn't just regurgitating.
Almost like when you look at those AI generated pictures, you sort of know there's something not right with them.
It's like not interesting. They're not. Yeah. It's not. It's not
imperfect
quality, and that's why I think we would then have the freedom with these tools to increase the quality of our art, increase the quality of our language and discourse and writing and things like that. By using these tools, we can free up the drudgery of the stuff that it's taking away from us, and free up that time to actually focus on making it better, or making it more thought-provoking, or making it say something meaningful instead of just throwing out lists on a website somewhere that just to get clicks so you can get advertising money so that you can, go do something else.
Right. It's one of those things that it feels like everybody is afraid of change, like they always have been. This is a massive change to the concept of what can be done with art. Let's take AI art, for example. Yes, almost all of it is weird. They can't do fingers right because it doesn't understand how to really manufacture them when you look at things. They take general concepts of ideas, but it's never quite right. Somebody who's an artist who spent all their time and effort and like years and years putting their style down, figuring out how to make their art be their own, won't easily just be removed by a AI bot. And it's that concept of this is something that is a massive change to the concept of what people are used to. So everybody's afraid, like, oh, I'm going to lose everything I have. No, you just have to try harder. This just made it so that way somebody putting out a top 10 list of the outfits of this person on this show, that can just go away now. Now you have to try harder to actually have actual thought-provoking content or interesting ideas, because we've raised the minimum bar up from it being, oh, you just looked at the thing and said ha ha ha, to it, this machine says that thing that you're saying, but now you have to explain why you're interested in this thing.
Yeah, that's a very free market argument in that more freedom means more personal responsibility and superior people. Go ahead, James.
Well, AI is really bad at it's pretty it's very binary, right? Like, so if I'm like lost in a jungle, right, and I use my ChatGPT, what do I do in the jungle? It's like, well, you got to build shelter, you got to find water, you got to find food. And it'll list me these things to do, but it doesn't understand the environment I'm currently in. It's just telling me.
My contention is, you can judge it where it's at now, but where's it going to be at in 20 years?
I mean,
where are these things going to be in 20 years?
It still doesn't have that like atavistic, way of like figuring like, I have, as a human, like tens of thousands and thousands of years of evolutionary process to get to where I am now. And people survived like the entire time. The AI doesn't understand. It can read about it, learn about it, decide what to do about it. But is the AI going to tell me, like, if I find a sweet potato, don't eat the whole sweet potato, like take chunks of it, plant 4 chunks, because those 4 chunks will become 4 potatoes, and like chunk it again and keep it going. Like, it will tell me, like, oh, this is a potato, it's nutritious, you should probably eat it or you're going to die in, like, you know, this like rainforest here. But it's not going to tell me, like, hey, I should probably do that, because it doesn't learn in real time like that. It learns on data that's already like there, that's been existing there, that's been on the internet. But there's tons of data that's not on the internet, or it's incomplete data, or it's data it can't learn at the time. What could it get to a point
so
where...
because of human imperfection
Yeah.
and
Yes.
humans' own devious nature, it can never truly succeed at becoming human.
Unless it develops its own level of intelligence that's beyond our understanding, it's limited to what we understand.
But that can happen. I think that's the problem that I have with it.
Currently, that can't happen because that would be intelligence. That would be the artificial intelligence I'm
Right.
talking about, where we can only machines can only do what we tell it to do, and that's it. They can't do anything. Now, when it gets to a point where we can create a machine, create a program that can self-evolve and write itself and become more than that, maybe we're talking. But I don't think that's happening for a long time.
And even if let's say there's an inkling of it now, there's so many variables into that. And how do you know that it isn't just writing itself over and over again and not evolving? It's just staying in the same cycle over and over again.
You have
Still
to make
within
sure
the
that the
parameters.
microtubules have a light in them, because there's a difference between top-down AI and bottom-up AI. It's a Paul joke. Paul.
So another go ahead, Harry.
Several things with that. You're kind of right about that. There's that human creativity and problem solving. So, like, if you have, let's say you have a Jeep Cherokee and your heater cord goes out. If you ask ChatGPT how to get to this heater cord, it's going to tell you the all data way to do it. How to remove the dashboard, how to get to it. That is a 8+ hour job to get the heater cord out of the Jeep Cherokee. Now, you can do that, or you can use human creativity and do the hillbilly way and get your Sawzall out and cut the dashboard apart and get your heater core out and then just put the dash back together with screws. It keeps stepping.
What's the point here?
That human creativity. That's
It's very binary. It's step by step.
Gotcha.
By step.
Okay.
Like the shortcuts and the things that we would think about that would make it go from A to B to C, when we can just go from A to C because we don't have to care about B because B is irrelevant.
Yeah,
Now, the other great thing about it is that it is taking humanity's information that we have given it, right? Everything, or stolen or grabbed, it crawled on the internet and took, because everyone puts everything on the internet. The best thing about it is that it helps link information to humans that probably have never talked to each other, but have that spark of creativity. We have figured out, we have seen through ancient basically discoveries that someone had at one point in time created basically what we defined as railroad tracks, but on the other side of the world, someone else created what we described as a steam engine. These two people have never met. This information didn't get put together until the
1830s.
the 1830s. And we got a train engine. But that stuff is still going on right now, where someone's got information, but they're not talking to the other person, and the other information getting together. The ways I see this is amazing is because I believe what Nice says is, like, we have to eventually get off this rock. And the people that want to get off this rock and are thinking about it, they have information, or the other people, and they're not talking to, because they don't know each other exists, because there's 7 billions of us on this planet. This allows everyone to talk with each other. It's an amazing piece of technology.
James, you were going to say something.
He was too, but I'm going to go after this. But it's when I think of, like, it's just got to learn, like, the people got to learn from, like, the actual, like, AI and stuff. It's just it just doesn't know. Like, even the information can be wrong. It's like you're just putting, like, what the humans know at the time. And it's like, well, what don't you know at the time? It's not going to figure that out. It needs to be able to think. It needs to have a soul to be able to think beyond what you're thinking. And where we at technology, because, like, well, we'll get there eventually, but yeah, like, a processor today is like 10 times more powerful than a processor 7 years ago. That's correct. Like, yeah, we add more little dots into the processor so it can run a little bit faster. Our machines can handle a little bit more RAM. But, like, all we're doing technology-wise right now is increasing the numbers. So, like, we add more of this, yeah, more storage, more, like, way to function, where it's to recall data, but there hasn't been like a big leap where the technology has been quantum, like for example, quantum computing. Like we have some quantum computers, but they're not as good as they could be because we don't understand the whole quantum mechanic realm yet, as we know. Like when you do that, you might have like a jump in quantum computing that can do a little bit more. But we don't have a way to like say like our technology, like, you know, maybe 10 years from now. Because like think about it. Remember the 90s when people were like, oh, VR's coming, right? And VR will have a complete virtual world,
right.
You know? And they had the first couple of VR sets, and it was just like black and red. It was like just 3D.
The Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
Well, social media is a great example. Like social media had a major effect on us and societies. But like people are kind of rejecting it because it's outlived its usefulness. We've figured out this is what's good and bad. We moderate our usage. It's changed in not so great ways. Like humans always kind of find the middle. And then there are always a few extremes that keep the extremes, but like you sort of go, this isn't necessarily healthy for me to wake up first thing in the morning and spend the next 8 hours on social media.
Well, no,
but it can be a helpful tool for us, for instance, to broadcast to the people that we're broadcasting.
It's just people that wanted the profit off of forums. Like all Facebook is a forum, right? Because there's multiple groups, there's multiple pages you can go to. They're just like forums back in the 90s. It was just a way to get them all into one space, monetize that space, so I can make money from you talking about like in a car group or your local town group. Because there used to be town forums like all over the place back in the 90s. Like, oh, where we live in, you know, Zionsville, Indiana. There's a Zionsville, Indiana, like, you know, town forum. You could talk about what's going on. It was much slower. You had to look for it. But Facebook and Twitter and stuff, they just bring all together and like have it like sectioned off to like things you want to look up and find. Same with Reddit, you just find a subreddit for it. It was just a way to monetize forums so they can get money off of it, as opposed to individual people hosting it on their own servers in their house or like on like, you know, web space. You have to go find it. It's not monetized at all. People just come and go as they please. So Web 2.0 was basically just the corporatization of like web forums. That's all it is. And when I think of like, you know, where you're going to go with the technology, the virtual reality stuff, is like we have VR today. You know, there's like, you know, Beat Sabers, but it's the same VR that was in the 90s with just more color, more, you know, like a better graphical processor so it could handle color and actually make things pop out. It's not a VR where like I'm sitting in a chair and I can feel everything that's happening around me, because like that would be a huge leap in VR for me to be able to feel what's happening to me.
Haptic impact.
Yeah, absolute Coomerism, if that's the case.
Okay,
But-
so
Harry, final point, and then I want to move on.
with VR chat, like some people who actually have spent like a lot of time in VR, they've noticed what they can feel is because of like the way the headsets are and the immersions that some people have, that they're getting phantom touch. They're experiencing phantom touch. It is an amazing topic. And I've never experienced myself, but I don't have a VR headset.
Paul experiences that.
But it's
Phantom touch. He remembers having a girl, but never mind.
He's not here to defend himself.
He remembers being invited.
Well, yeah. That's yeah.
Why didn't you invite him?
All right. So do you want to get this on camera?
That was-
we could do
the
this.
whole thing.
So like couple weeks back, Spangle got upset at me for inviting
Because you were programming my show. That's not your place.
inviting people in here, right? So I said, okay, all right, let's not do that. You know, like, and I was trying to be front with him. And then we got this show together. I invited him and I put the invite list, and it's like, and I confirmed with him, and we all confirmed. It was great. It was musical. Then last night I get on the scheduled chat room and find out this guy invited 3 more people
to my show. Yeah, it's
I'm actually really nice to Paul because I bought like a whole box set and I got him the cards he wanted.
And
well, I knew that
one of them was not Paul.
No, it wasn't Paul, because Paul's not. Brian works in technology. Brian Nichols works in tech security. James is a philosophy major who works in technology. And I know you had these 2 characters who work in technology. Mm-hmm. Paul doesn't work in technology. I love Paul, and he
watches Sword Art online for like 6 hours a night,
Paul,
bro.
Honestly, Paul has probably messed around with with AI art more than anything. He literally had a friend he would troll for like 2 months straight by sending them pictures of things like, oh, isn't that cool? Like, yeah, it's really cool. Where'd I get it? It's like, oh, it doesn't exist. The AI bot made it.
See, that's why we don't want Paul here. He's mean. I'm joking. I I almost texted you last night and said, "Hey, invite Paul," but
He knows so much isekai that he can give you like 10 examples of people getting hit by a bus or like going like into a deep dive into a computer and like having the entire plot story of being a hero.
all right, let's hope
All
that
right,
this plays. Go finish your thought. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to turn off. Well, the other thing I want to say is like, so ChatGPT and like all the AI things like it's what VR also does need because, and if you ever want to get to like a holodeck future, like which people are finding out by coding and making VR games and VR spaces is that it takes a lot to program that because instead of like a regular first person shooter game or something like that, you have to program like little scenes. You can try to control what the cameras are. This is everything all around 360 on a person, and there's other people walking in that space that you also have to to map for and find out things are going to. That takes a lot of work to model all that and to get that coding in there. I think that space is going to really could use for something like that. Netflix did the short where they used what was like AI generated backgrounds for the short to help speed up progression on a short. They did an animation short.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, which even though Miyazaki said this AI thing is it's an abomination to humankind. And
I sort of feel like
Miyazaki.
corporations
He hates
Yeah, that's
corporations have overburdened their workforce so much that it's time for the workforce to have some efficiencies to catch up. Go ahead, Reinhold.
I think I have a good way to describe what we're trying to say about this not being there yet is computers still can't do random number generation. True random number generation.
Explain that and what is it?
So a computer right now, when you tell it to give me a number from 1 to a million, right?
69.
It'll go through an algorithm, pick a number, and give it to you. If you time it right and you know the algorithm, you can make it give you the same number every single time, right? It's not true random number generation where you just come up with a number off the top of your head. That's
69.
Random though.
420. I must be
So-
AI because I'm going to come up with those two numbers every time.
But when we can get to a point where computers can actually give us true random number generation, maybe we're talking about the possibility of someday having actual artificial intelligence.
Unpredictability.
But, we can't do.
the way to put it.
Yeah, everything's programmed in a certain way that we can predict everything that's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. It's within our still confines of knowledge and space where the machines, when we truly get AI, that's going to be beyond what we are in control of or have a grasp of.
The larger point that I want to make here, though, is that when you listen to the audio of these things, of these people saying something very, very uncouth, very offensive, it's kind of hard to tell that that's not the person. That Trump, I didn't play any of the Trump really because it went the hard F, so we apologize for that.
I mean, we've always had people doing impressions who are able to really do a good job.
But this is their own words. If you could take, because I have done this podcast for 10,000 hours, you could take my audio and recreate my voice saying anything about anything, right?
But it was this good already when Obama was in office because they did a whole presentation where they had Jordan Peele do his Obama impression and they deep faked Obama's face over it so it looked just like Obama was talking because his impression was pretty much on point. It was already that good.
So my question, just everybody gets one turn and then we're going to end. How do you stay aware of kind of fake information that might be created by this stuff? What do you do when you're out in the hinterlands of the internet, in the dark places where this kind of stuff exists?
Who wants to go first?
Reinhold's probably the most skeptical. What do you?
Yeah. So there's always skepticism in any of this stuff, especially like people say, "Oh, I get this video of a UFO or a ghost or this or that." There's always going to be people try to present something to you as real that's not real, and you have to be able to go through the processes of critical thinking and talking to people who are experts in the field of this sort of thing to be able to identify, flaws that could make it known that it's not real. So there's a lot of different ways with a lot of different people looking at things. It's going to be really hard to get something passed that's not eventually going to be found out as being fake. Now, something's still going to get through. We're still going to have that issue. But usually when you get a deep fake like that and the person says, I never said that, I was nowhere near, you need to prove that I said this or did this.
Yeah, like we know Joe Biden
way.
didn't give an anti-trans speech.
Right.
Like it's very obviously fake, but the quality of it sounds identical to him and Trump.
But if you see that and you go, oh man, that's really weird. But a lot of people stop there, and that's really the problem, is that we need people to continue to look into things or question it, and we have to start having people kind of doing that work for us, because it's not something that every individual is going to do or can do.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be something that organizations are going to have to start doing, and there are some out there doing that. So I think as long as we've got people who are experts in the field who are looking into things like that, people who are skeptical, applying true critical thought, we're going to be able to stay ahead of most of this stuff to a point where at some point you're going to have to be, I have to be physically in the room with you or I'm not going to believe it.
Yeah.
The other thing is like the metadata inside of these and all these things that are coming out, these new media. Now it's considered new. Now would be new media. I think that was going to show, just like in the early days of photoshopping and messing with images, there is going to be forensic analysis techniques that are going to be designed to find out, like, has this been altered in any way, shape, or form, where it's come. I think it does also will put more doubt, hopefully more doubt, when people go like, well, I have an anonymous hidden recording, of we took out this executive from possibly maybe a drug company, and he said these things. We're going to want to actually know that source. We want the raw, if that actually happened. I want to read the raw from it.
Part of the problem with my statement is that we have people like that out there right now that people are buying wholeheartedly into, and it's kind of hard to. How do you corral that in?
Having seen that video last night, like they didn't say anything about it being a deep fake, but I'm like, I know where the balloon's at. I know that can't be the balloon, so saying it's the balloon doesn't make any sense. So I guess knowing the technology exists makes me kind of go, I need to be skeptical about this.
Yeah, but you're going to have people who use it and go, look how they're lying to you. They're going to tell you that this isn't real, and I've got footage of it.
Right.
And they're going to say, it's over here. Here's the footage of it. But they're creating that footage.
Right.
They're the one. It's going to be back and forth, and we're going to have to try and work that out.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. But the stuff is like there right now. You can look up like some of the backrooms images, like some of the early part of the backrooms. It looks freaking real, like someone's walking around. But everyone knows, like, no, that's generated. Some this is computer stuff. This was made. But a lot of people look at like, wow, I can't believe they made this type of set. It's like, this set's not made. This set's not real. But please look at the backrooms. Amazing stuff. Yeah. It's just the people, the outliers that you have to be like, people are afraid of, like. They're always going to exist. They're still there. They were buying like Sure said, they were buying Weekly World News in the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, he's right. Yeah. Yeah, you remember, people think the Earth is flat.
Protocols of Zion.
Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's a great example of people. It's been proven false by multiple means, and it's
If there's anything that we should be worried of, is people who are on their phones while they're driving. If there's any big concern, it's those people. You know who you are. Put your phones down. Drive.
All right, old man. Vincent, your turn. Go. Anything you want to say?
The thing about the deepfake stuff, and that it's actually a big controversy right now, because like a Twitch streamer had a link open with deepfake not safe for work stuff of other people that he
porn
knew.
has there was always like, when you were on the internet back in the 90s, there was always like Cindy Crawford's head photoshopped on somebody's body. Mm-hmm. But now it's deep fake porn with people who are not doing porn.
Yes.
But there's already a bunch of stuff going on about that. People are trying to figure out are trying to make lawsuits and figure out what does your bodily autonomy stand for when deep fakes are involved. Can you just sue to take it down? That person when the person who was running the website was called on it. He took the website down and apologized for even doing it because he thought it was just funny, but then, i.e., he didn't care until he got caught.
Right.
All of it's really boiled down to is that you just do your research. If you see something, look it up and try to actually figure out where it came from. Because if you're like, oh, this person said this thing, cool, give me 4 more examples of him saying that thing.
Right.
And then when you can't, then it's obviously somebody lied there. Technology is a tool. It's always been a tool. People will choose to use the tool for good or for bad. A hammer is great to hammer in a nail or to break a window. It's just a tool.
James, are you a deep fake?
No, like people believe what they want to believe, bro. Like I was watching like a thing on like a podcast on history when like the Mongols were sacking Poland and Hungary, right? They sent a priest, like a penny, to like the Mongol like home city, like all the way in China. Like dude, 65 years old, walks all the way to China, documents everything, right? This is how they fight. This is how they eat. This is how they sleep. This is how they function. This is how they, like, everything. Even like interviewed like cultures they sacked. Well, we did this. Came up with a battle plan how to beat them. They're like, it came down to like, don't hide in your fortress, because what they do is they push you in there and they refer to you as cattle because you're stuck in your castle. Then they sack the whole countryside and take over that way. They don't care you're in the castle, because if you're not defending your fields, they'll salt and burn the fields.
Right.
If you're not defending your town, they'll salt and burn and rape the town, you know? So like he wrote this whole like book about it, like factual knowledge, went back to like the Pope and like these like the Holy Roman Empire, like this is what you do. That fake news. You don't know what you're talking about.
In the 20s, people, Indiana was basically 2/3 of the state were members of the Klan, and they were choosy too. Mm-hmm. And the big rumor was that the Pope had taken over Cincinnati and was building a fortress in Franklin County, Indiana, to invade and take over Indiana. Of all the places the Pope was going to take over was Indiana. That should have been your first clue that this was stupid. And they used that rumor mongering to institute the pledge and put a flag in every classroom and passed a law that you had to say the pledge and you had to have a flag in your classroom. Why? Because they believed that they were loyal to the Pope, and so the Pledge of Allegiance was to get them to be allegiant to the state as opposed to the Pope, which is why school children still say the Pledge of Allegiance. It was to get them to pledge state before God, right? So let that sink in, Christian nationalists.
Even like...
But
a little bit.
You could have driven to Franklin frickin' County and asked where the Pope's, and nobody did. They just wanted to believe it because they wanted to keep hating Catholics.
And that's why the whole fear of AI is a thing. Because they're fear mongering themselves into saying this is bad. How do you prevent us from evolving by saying anything that's a change is bad? So we have to make it scary and make sure nobody does it.
Yeah.
That's why this whole balloon thing is even talking about it. It's like, oh, be scared of the China and their balloon when they're running out of resources and they still have it made up with Australia, who gives them most of their resources. And honestly, if they wanted your information, they already had access to it. It's just, they're fear mongering. They're trying to make you rally against something because that's what they want. They want you to be emotional and move towards this.
Yeah, it's easier to control people and get people to do what you want to do, and you just got them scared.
Yeah, when they're not logical.
When you're playing on their emotions.
Will Chris Spangle watch the entire series of Ghost in the Shell to understand that sometimes tech can be good?
No, he probably won't.
I don't think tech is bad, but
let's watch some Ghost in the Shell.
Watch Ghost in the Shell. Watch Vivi.
I think we should do a movie night. Yeah, you should watch some Ghost in the Shell.
What is Ghost in the Shell?
You can watch Bicentennial Man and get a good idea out of tech on that. That's
it's a
Robin
good
Williams
movie. That's a good movie.
But it's not
it's not nowhere near Ghost in the Shell. It is nowhere near Ghost in the Shell.
It's not nearly as long.
Japanese cartoons. No, thank you. I want real humans.
Ghost in the Shell and Bicentennial Man. Bicentennial Man's an hour-and-a-half movie.
It's standalone
2 hour
project
movie.
complex.
Wow, it's only an hour and a half.
What are you going to watch then, Chris? The one with Will Smith fighting robots?
Yes.
It was a terrible movie.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us here on We Are Libertarians, here on the Chris Spangle Show. We thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. We'd love to hear your feedback. If you want to make a comment, Chris at chrisspangle.com. We'll respond to it here on the show. Or you can go to Patreon or chrisspangle.com and leave a comment there. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate your time, and thank you so much for listening here to The Chris Spangle Show. This podcast was produced and edited by Chris Spangle and Leaders and Legends, LLC. If you're interested in starting a podcast or taking yours to the next level, please contact us at leadersandlegends.net.